Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our special event, and we have a special guest. Before starting this, we are going to have a small story that will be about filming. But I want you all to have your phones, and if you don't have internet, you can just connect our Wi-Fi. It is ASM, and here is the password. If you have your own, that is fine. Then I want to ask you to go to that website. Just let me show you. Oh, it's not working. www.menti.com. Okay, that's fine. So then you have to type you have done everything. Here's a question. Which movies genders do you most prefer? You can just take your choice. Let's go to the next one. What is your favorite movie? Star Wars or... Okay, let's go to the next slide. So which is the better role to play, the hero or the villain? Wow. So, how much do you like the filming types of the movies? American or... Wow, American. That's cool. So that is it. Thank you for participating, and I hope you liked it. Now we are gonna.
It is a pleasure to welcome you to the American Center tonight. I know many of you are here for the first time. Welcome. Those of you that are here more than once, welcome back. It is a great honor and joy to introduce you to our distinguished guest, Larry Joshua. I think we actually may have set some records in terms of how quickly people signed up for this event. People were very interested, so I congratulate you for being the ones who actually managed to register on time. Larry is perhaps most famously known for being a longtime actor with a distinguished career in both film and television. His movie performances include roles in Dances with Wolves, Unforgiven, both of these having won Academy Awards within their respective years for Best Picture. Also, he played roles in A Midnight Clear, The X-Files, Spider-Man, as well as other films. He has an even more extensive background in television in particular, having appeared in blockbuster and award-winning short shows such as Miami Vice, Chicago Hope, Law and Order, Cold Case, and ER, in addition to others. Larry happens to be visiting Russia for the first time, along with his lovely wife, to visit friends who happen to be workers here at the embassy. And those friends happen to be huge fans of the American Center, and they have managed to convince Larry to spare a couple of hours of his vacation time to spend with us here this evening, tonight at the American Center. So we are incredibly grateful for this gift, and I know how excited you are to meet him. So without further ado, please welcome Larry Joshua to the American Center.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure for me to be here. And I've had a great time so far being in your country, in St. Petersburg, and now here in Moscow. It's been a very friendly experience. I really appreciate the reception. Thank you. So, my host, Tom,
Well, so my wife and I met Larry and Angie. We were on a continuing education cruise. And Larry was asleep the first day and a half, so we didn't meet him for a while. And when I first saw Larry, what immediately came to my mind was a role that he had played. I didn't know who Larry was. Angie just said her husband Larry. I immediately went to a role that he played 10 years previous on a show, NYPD Blue. And that I remembered this specific character 10 years later because you portrayed him with a passion and with a humanity. And we just ended up becoming friends. Just a couple other things. So Larry has worked with, this is in no order, Clint Eastwood, Al Pacino, Denzel Washington, Jodie Foster, Ellen Barkin, Lena Olin, Gary Oldman, Kevin Costner, Chuck Norris. Everyone was okay. Don Johnson, Alec Baldwin, Meryl Streep, and my favorite from the old days, Elizabeth Ashford.
Yes, Elizabeth.
And also, I hope that you'll also talk about, Larry is also making a film now, a documentary called Daughters of Aquarius, and I'm just going to kind of hand off. And
Okay.
people might be interested in just how the heck did you get started? Oh, and one thing is, Larry is from New York City. I am from Texas. It is questionable if we really speak English at times. So, if you have a hard time understanding us, or a word that we use, wave. Because the same thing happens in the U.S. People don't know what the heck we're talking about. So.
Again, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. I got started acting because I actually started playing music. And I was playing in a bar in Pennsylvania one summer, and actors used to come into this bar after the play that they were doing, and I was in the band, and the actors would always be sitting at a table here every night after the show, and I got to speak with them and started a friendship with them. And when the band broke up, as they often do, I sort of just segued into it. And that's how I became involved in the theater, which became my university. I fell in love with the theater and the literature of the theater, the great playwrights, And so I learned a lot about life and a lot about people in different cultures, whether it's Ibsen or Chekhov. You learn a lot, and so it became an education. I had a chance to go to college, but I didn't go, and so the theater became sort of my university. It was, and it still is a great place to be, the theater. Great place to be. I started taking acting lessons in New York City about 1975, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to make a living at it. So I gave myself 5 years, and I said, if I can't make a living in 5 years, I'll get a straight job, regular 9-to-5 job. And someone told me, I said, I'm a little worried about this. And they said, well, don't worry about it, because the 9-to-5 world will always be there. You can always show up, and it'll be there. You can always get a job and work, And so I like being an actor. I like being in show business, as it were, the theater, because although it's not easy. It's not easy because you don't become an actor to become rich or famous. I mean, although obviously many do, and we all know who they are. But there are times 10 as many, thousands of many who you'll never hear of and who didn't make it and who struggled to pay their rent and who are just in love with storytelling, which is what ultimately I fell in love with, was the idea of telling a story and finding a way to connect myself to the character and sort of like, I guess that almost like a shadow on a wall, try to tell a story that reflects into other people's lives. And I still enjoy that. I think it's great. It's more than anything else that I've ever done. And I've had a lot of straight jobs. I mean, I was a cook for a while, worked on a truck for a while, but, and there's a lot of satisfaction in a good day's work. But being able to be in a room where the lights go out and the lights come up and you get to tell a story and you know that people are being touched by it is a great thing. And I've been very lucky to be able to do that.
What do you think is the most important thing
About
to being a successful actor?
You really can't take you can't take things personal because you're going to hear no a lot. You're going to hear you're not right, you're not good, you can't make it, you're too short, you're too tall, you're too skinny, you're too fat, you're not good looking. Now, obviously, some people they are those things. They're just perfect, and the camera loves them, and it's almost like they were born to be a star. But, you know, most of us aren't those people. So you gotta be able to have a thick skin so that when you're told no, you don't take that as your self-worth. That, you know, you manage to keep going. So that is part of it. The other part is you have to study. You must learn the craft. You must learn how to make the choices as an actor on stage. And you know, Stanislavski, I can't wait to go to the Moscow Theater. He had, I think, 7 steps that every actor takes, and I'm going to see if I can remember them. Who you are, where you are, what time is it, what do you want, why do you want it, how are you going to get it, and what is your obstacle. You constantly have to ask yourselves those questions over and over again so that there is a great deal of discipline. Your body is your instrument, so you know, I mean, I used to, you know, exercise a lot because you need to keep your body in shape, unless you're funny. If you're funny, you can be overweight, and it doesn't matter, because if you can make them laugh, you're king. You know, they always say comedy is king, and it's true, because funny, there's money in funny, and so, but I didn't have that. I wasn't funny, so I had to exercise, and I had to stretch, and for a while I took ballet. Not that I ever thought I was going to be a ballet dancer, but just the idea of the discipline of it. So it takes a lot to be an actor, and it's work, and it takes discipline, it takes confidence, and it takes the ability to turn the page. In other words, it was a bad day, but that's okay, because tomorrow I'm going to get that part. And a lot of people, they have a bad day, and they can't get over it, and so when they go in for their next audition, they're still thinking about how they messed up on the other audition, and it just becomes... So study, hard head, skin, and determination. You know, you got to really, it's a lot of people coming into Hollywood and to New York City to get on Broadway who, it's a lot of people, and they come from, America's the kind of place where you can just show up You know, other places like Canada, you know, as an American actor, I just can't walk into Canada and get a job. The state has to make sure. But in America, you can come from Australia, you can come from anywhere, get in line, and you know, you can make it, and or at least try to make it. So there's a lot of competition, a lot of people, a lot of talent, and not all talent makes it. You know, as you can probably see on TV, a lot of people, they're not that talented, and you'll look, how did they get that? I don't know. But, so it takes a lot. And I left out one thing, luck. There's a lot of luck involved too, for sure.
What was your first job? What was your first part?
My first part was in a play by Sam Shepard called Tooth of Crime, and I auditioned for the part of Crow. And it's an opera, it's a rock opera. Like I said, I started out in a rock band, so I felt like I can do this part. And so the idea of the play is that my part is sort of like gunning for the star, whose star is fading, and I'm going to kind of come in and sort of like be the revolutionary new rock thing. At the time when it was written, punk rock was just becoming sort of like famous in America, and so I became this punk rock guy named Crow, and I came into the audition with a fake pistol. And so I turned my back to the director, and the player were sitting there, and I turned my back, and then I pulled out a gun, and it was fake, you know. And I said, I'm going to get this part, so I threatened them. I got the part, and then of course they had me read, and so that was the first play I got, and I also got my first agent from that part, Gene Parsagian. And he just passed away. He was a great guy.
Did you ever use a gun to get any other part?
No. No, I never used a weapon again. A lot of times on camera, where there was, you know, when you use a gun or a weapon, a machine gun or something in the camera, it's serious. They don't just let you play around with it. They have special guys that hold on to the weapons and make sure that, you know, you have some training with it before they just let you walk off into the set with it.
So, did you know anybody in the business, or
No.
did you have connections? Or?
No, I didn't have any connections, and a lot of people, you know, when I told them I wanted to become an actor, they thought I was, you know, crazy. Yeah, right, you know, that kind of thing. People that I knew. No, I didn't. Like I said, I just met these people from playing in the band, and they were actors, and I sort of became friends with them.
Yeah.
And I kind of got the idea of how they were going about it. It turns out none of them stayed in the business long enough to actually make a living from it. But I saw the sort of things that you needed to do. You know, how to get your picture taken, and you know, how to go about knocking on doors and trying to get people to give you that chance. And you know, and I was always like, I just need one person to say yes to me. Just be like going to everybody in this room and just having one person say, you're going to give me a chance. You're going to get it. Someone's going to give me a chance. And I just knew if someone gave me a chance, I would hit it out of the park. I would make the goal. And I just had that silly attitude. And I guess it worked. You know, I'm not a star by any means. I'm a working actor. I had a few chances to be a star, I guess, but I'm sort of I have the great ability, you know, to play different parts, and I also have the blessing of anonymity, which sounds odd, but I can go a lot of places, and I'm recognized now and again, now that I've grown a beard, hardly at all, but I get recognized now and again. But for the most part, I have anonymity, and when you're famous, I mean, you can't even go out and buy a newspaper without someone trying to accost you or shake your hand or tell you how much they like you or don't like you. You know, so it's a great thing to have that part. But no, I didn't have anybody that was in the business. No one. I never networked. I never tried to. What's the word you use when you try to ingratiate yourself to somebody? Try to, they would say brown nose or but it's networking. I never did that. I went in for every audition. I got the job. I went and I did my job. They paid me. I said thank you very much, and I went home to be with my family and my friends. I was never someone who hung around and tried to do that. I don't put it down. I'm not good at it. I guess that's why I didn't do it. I was afraid I would say something silly and then I'd ruin everything. So I tried to keep it limited that way.
Is there a difference between, because you talked about being on the stage,
Mm-hmm.
is there a difference between being on the stage, being on
Yes.
television,
Mm-hmm.
being in movies?
Well, being on stage is the best for an actor because you're in complete command. Once you go through the rehearsal process, the director leaves and he goes and finds another job, and the actors take control of the play, and so you have control. You have control of how you move that night and how the connections you make, and it's great. It's really best for an actor. On TV and on film, it's more of a director's medium where the director will say, I need you to come in through that door, and before you say your line, you need to look up at the axe that is stuck in the ceiling, and you have to do it exactly the way he says it. Whereas if that was the same scene in a play, you could do it different every night. One of the great things I learned from Al Pacino when I worked with him in Sea of Love is that he said to me, there are 3 movies being made at once. There's the one you're acting in, the one that the director is shooting, and the one that they edit. So, he always said to me, if there's something that you want in this movie, do it every time. Because a lot of actors, they want to show their versatility. So, every time they do a new take, they'll do something slightly different. But what you do when you do that is you're allowing the director and the editor to decide your performance. Because they may pick one of your takes and you go, oh, I can't believe they picked that take. I hated that take. But you put it down. So he would say, if you find something you like, do it the same way every time. And this way you take that away from the director and the editor, and you have more control over your performance. And Al, being mostly a stage actor, of course, would understand that. So that was a great tip. So in a movie or a TV, you're only acting for maybe 30 seconds, and then they cut. They go, okay, that was good. So it's 30 seconds of acting. When you're in a play, you're performing for maybe an hour and a half. So you really sort of get a flow in it and the energy of it. And of course you get the energy of the audience. Where in a movie it's, there could just be you and one other actor standing off camera giving you your lines. And, there's really nothing going on but you and the camera, which is, to some people, they're really good at that. I mean, they're really good at that. The camera loves them, and they know how to speak with the camera rolling, and it's convincing as everything. The other thing is, when you're on stage, you're told to speak loudly, so that the guy in the back can hear you. Well, in film, I can talk like this. I can say, I really feel that way. The camera is like X-ray. I mean, if you go like this, and you look at me through that little hole that you make, it's a lot different than when you're looking at me like this and, you know, everything's around. You're seeing everything. But when you're on camera, you're right in that pinprick, and every muscle on your face, every blink of your eye, it reads. I mean, you may be doing nothing. I mean, some film actors will say, all you have to do is think on camera, and the audience will fill it in for you, because the audience is going to say, I know exactly what he's thinking. It's what you're thinking, and you put it on the actor. So there's some tricks that really good film actors can use, because they can be totally still. I mean, my first scene with Jodie Foster, which I heard you play a clip from, I had a scene with her where she was breaking up with me. And camera was on her. No, camera was on me first. And I liked what I did, director liked what I did. And then the camera turned around over my shoulder and was on Jodie. And I'm watching Jodie and I'm thinking, man, she did nothing. She did absolutely nothing. So the next day, we get to see the rushes before we go out to shoot. Now, the rushes are the film that we shot the day before. So the day before, we're looking at the rushes. And I look at myself and I go, that's all right, yeah, it's okay. And I'm being critical. Then I see Jodie, and like I said before, she did nothing. But yet the camera was right there, and every twitch of her nostril, her eyebrow, just the corner of her mouth said everything. And I was like, wow, that's great film acting. I mean, because to the naked eye, I didn't see any of that. And I was within 5 feet of her. I mean, we were sitting at a table. But in the film was, boom, right up there. And you could see it. You know, her eye went like that. It read, and it was great. It's quite a good lesson. Are any actors out here? There we go. Wonderful, wonderful.
Did you break up with Jodie, or did
she broke up with me, of
Okay.
course. Yeah.
I'll be clarified.
Yeah, no. She saw she broke up with me and went for Peter O'Toole. Can you imagine?
A little age difference.
Well, you know, he offered her, you know, to open all the doors.
No, but
There you go.
yeah.
I mean, we were sitting at a table. But in the film was, boom, right up there. And you could see it. You know, her eye went like that. It read, and it was great. It's quite a good lesson. Are any actors out here? There we go. Wonderful, wonderful.
Did you break up with Jodie, or did
She broke up with me, of
Okay.
course.
I'll
Yeah.
be clarified.
Yeah, no. She saw she broke up with me and went for Peter O'Toole. Can you imagine?
A little age difference.
Well, you know, he offered her, you know, to open all the doors.
No, but
There you go.
yeah. You were talking about 3 different movies going on.
Right.
Is it different if the director is an actor? I know what you've had Kevin Costner as your director twice.
Yes, and Kevin called me on it. Kevin called me on it. There's a scene in Dances with Wolves where we've knocked Kevin out, and he's laying on the floor in a tent or teepee, or no, it wasn't tent. It wasn't quite in the teepee stage yet. And anyway, so I'm sitting there watching him, and my first scene, and I had already worked with Al, so I knew this, and I wanted to do something in that movie, and it was there on every take. I was sitting there before my line, they go, action, and I'd go, and then I'd say my line. And I did that on every take. Kevin, who's directing it, picked up on it. He said, I can't believe you're doing that on every take. And he knew, because I was doing it on every take, it was going to be in the movie. So it's in the movie, and I learned my lesson, and it was just really great, because I don't know why I did that, but it dawned on me to do that, because One of the things I always been amazed with film is you can get sight and sound, and you can get feelings, you know, but you can't get smell, you know. So if a character smells something on stage or in a movie, it's a very strong thing, and not a lot of actors do that. And I'm not suggesting that as a great thing to do, but I thought it was interesting, and I did it. I'm like that. So Kevin did catch me on that.
And he did not say, knock it off?
No, he did not. Matter of fact, Kevin was a great director. Kevin was great to work with. I really enjoyed my time with Kevin. He's a good guy.
Would you recommend that our upcoming actress that she starts sniffing?
Well, it depends. I mean, if you know, a lot of times I play a villain, and I always, and they don't, you know, as a villain, you don't really, they don't flesh out your character a lot. They just want you to be the bad guy. But I've always said if I could do, I always would ask my director, can I have one scene where I pet a dog? Or one scene where I smell a flower? Or one scene where I just do one nice thing? And then I can go out and kill whoever you need me to kill, but let me just do one, no. All right. So if you're ever in a scene where you can just, before you do something bad, just smell a flower, it could be interesting. It's really all about choices, as I'm sure you know by now. You know, the best actors make the most interesting choices. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. They make the best choices. When they go back to that, who am I, where am I, what time is it, you know, what do I want, why do I want it, you know, how am I going to get it, and what's stopping me? You know, if you can be the most imaginative with those, and what the play gives you, of course, you have to respect the play, but the most imaginative answers will probably make you the more interesting character that you get to play.
Who's an actor that you really enjoyed? That if you're sitting at home with Angie, you say, I want to go see a movie with this person.
Right now it would be Tom Hardy. I really enjoy Tom Hardy, English actor, and I think he's fabulous. I think he's a really fabulous actor. So I would love to. Yeah, that would be a great. That would be.
There are a lot of young women nodding and smiling at Tom Hardy. I don't know if it's for his acting.
Well, I don't know about his looks. He looks okay, but he's great. I mean, I think talent is a great aphrodisiac. Yes, it is. She said yes, it is. Yes. So he's a talented guy. I saw him in a movie called Lock, where it's just him by himself. In a car, talking on his car phone, which is on the dashboard of his car. Some of the best stuff I've ever seen. And it's he didn't write it, he helped write it. It's just phenomenal if you ever get a chance to see it. Yes, Tom Hardy.
What about actress?
Well, you know, playing the bad guy, you don't get to work with actresses too much, so I'm usually working with guys. Actress. Well, you know, one of my old-time Hollywood favorite actresses is Barbara Stanwyck. I really think she's great. Betty Davis, obviously, I'm never going to work with them. But as far as today, boy, I tell you that Jennifer Lawrence is pretty fabulous. I've always liked Nicole Kidman, but I don't know. I don't know if it would be right, but yeah, those two have come to mind off the top of my head.
Yeah. Of people that you've worked with, do you have a favorite?
Favorites. Kevin was great. Kevin was great. Clint Eastwood was great. Pacino was very, I mean, the best thing about working with an actor, and not all actors are like this, is being inclusive. When they, especially the big stars, because the big stars, they set the tone on the set. They set the tone. So if the star is inclusive, if the star sort of like welcomes you into the scene as an actor, it's great. It's a great thing. And Al was very inclusive. I mean, just in one of the other scenes, him and I were going to enter into this. We played cops together, and we were going to enter in the room where there had been a murder. And we're standing on the back side of the door, and the director yells, "Action!" And I'm ready just to boom, fly in. And Al said, "Listen, as an actor, you don't have to walk right in as soon as they say action. You can take a moment, think about it, and then go in." So Al was very inclusive, and Kevin was very inclusive. But I've worked with actors whose names I will not mention, who were not inclusive, and they don't welcome you in, and that's a problem. That's a problem. But some people are. I don't know what the word is, but maybe they're having a bad day, the day that I'm there, and that's okay, and so you don't really want to say that's how they are, but that's how they are when you're there. And there have been some that I've had that. And when you're there, if you do your work as an actor, you don't really even need a director. You can be director-proof and you can be actor-proof if you really do your work and you know what the scene's about and you answer all those questions that Stanislavski put forth. If you answer all those questions and you really know the answers, then you could say, I don't like the director, I don't like this actress or this actor, I don't like this set. You can do the scene on your head if you have to, if you do your work. And that's always the bottom line. Regardless of what you're doing, whether you're building this room and laying the floor, or whether you're doing acting, you gotta know your trade. And if you're a star, then you're a star. If you're Mozart, then, it's a blessing. But most of us have to learn how to do our craft and have to, show up and do the work. That's how it is for most of us. And it'd be great when next time I come around to be just gifted. That would be great. Just walk in and just be brilliant. That would be beautiful.
Any actress that you just enjoyed hanging out with?
Yes, I enjoyed hanging around with Mary McDonnell, who I did a play with in New York, and then I was on the set with her in Dances with Wolves. I enjoyed being with her. Who else? There's one other somebody that just was in my mind and just left it. Deborah Headwall is another. She's not as well known, but she was a stage actress who was also just, what a fabulous, ingenious actress she was. She's still out there, I guess. Elizabeth Ashley.
Thank you.
I saw Elizabeth Ashley when I was just starting out. She was doing Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, which is a play by Tennessee Williams. A great play, great American play. And I went to see her as Maggie the Cat. And years later, maybe 5 to 6 years later, I was now a working actor, and I got to be with her, on the set with her, in the movie with Jodie Foster and Peter O'Toole called Svengali. And so that was great. And she's one of the greats, and she's still with us. And she's one of the great actresses, mostly on stage. She's great.
Now, you mentioned Clint Eastwood.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever laugh? Smile.
He smiles a lot. He smiles a lot. Laugh? He chuckles. He chuckles. He doesn't laugh. He's a very generous man. And I had dinner with him a few times when we were doing Unforgiven, and people just pour out of the kitchen. You know, we were shooting in Northern California, where he's from, and people would, Clint Eastwood's here. And people would just come flying out of the kitchen. What can I make for you? And he's a very humble guy, and almost embarrassed by it. But gracious. He signed everyone an autograph and was very, very gracious. And he's a good guy. He's also a really good guy. It means most people in the business that I'm in are good people. I mean, I've really, with the exception of one or two, which, like I said, I won't name, really good people. They're people who are, like I said, you don't become an actor. It's like, you know, it's like taking a vow of poverty to become an artist. I mean, because there's no guarantee that you're ever going to sell anything that you create, whether it's a painting or you dance or pottery, whatever. But if you are, something speaks to you that you feel like you need to create, you're not doing it to become famous. You may become, but you're not doing it to become famous or rich, because there's no path. There's no direct path. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You're always looking for that piece. It's not like, again, like building this room. I mean, you either set that window in square or you don't. It's either right or it's not right. You know, you either lay the floor right or you don't. Acting or the art, you never know what the market is going to be looking for, and you may just fall over and be like, oh my God, my sense of humor is what somehow everybody wants, and you can't necessarily have planned it that way. You just might have just walked into the right time and place, because societies, you know, they evolve and they change, and at certain times they want this, and at other times they want that. And if you, as an artist, walk into that time, it could be just a great thing for you, but you don't know that. You don't know that.
Larry, gentleman here had a question for
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Nikolai.
Hi, Nikolai.
I'm from Yakutsk. I just wanted to ask, when you decided to become an actor, which actors did play an inspiration for you as a role model, or which actors inspire you to become an actor? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Well, nobody in my neighborhood or in my family was thinking about, going into show business. So there wasn't, movies were not something that I ran to the movie theater to see a lot. But there were two movies that I saw right before I thought, okay, I'm going to try this. One was Dog Day Afternoon, and I saw Al Pacino in that, and I was like, wow, if that is possible, I want to try something like that. The other one was a lesser-known film that I also thought was great. It was one of the earliest films that Richard Dreyfuss did. It was called The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz, where I was like, wow, that's a very interesting thing. And then, of course, the one that's probably the most powerful in a way was Streetcar Named Desire, when I saw Marlon Brando on film playing Stanley Kowalski, and one other one where I saw Lee J. Cobb, who's an old American actor, do Death of a Salesman. It was like, just powerful. We were, Tom and our wives, we went to see an opera, name I can't pronounce, but it was by Puccini. And the powerfulness of that is also like, if you wanted to be, let's say I wanted to be in opera. I mean, the talent on that stage in that building is just, you know, it's a phenomenal feeling to be there.
Good evening, my name is Ekaterina. I'm from the south of Russia, from Stavropol. I have a question.
Okay.
What do you think of Russian movies? Have you seen any? And what's your favorite one if you have?
Okay, good question. You know, knowing I was coming here, I brushed up on my Russian movies, which I have to admit I knew very little about. Russian Ark, and I saw this movie. It was a great movie, and I want to say Two Soldiers, but I don't know if that was the name of it. It was about, it was during the, it took place around 1920, when the white Russians and the red Russians were still battling each other. And these two guys who were actually fighting on the same side, but because they were both fighting for the Red Army, but because one of them was a sort of like a more of a proletariat than the other one, he appeared to be, you know, from an upper class family, and therefore they weren't quite sure of his credentials, you know. But these two men became friends, and they were able to understand each other. And I thought it was just a beautiful movie about how, again, I would go to see a Puccini, and I'm a human, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I was sitting there with Russians, and who else knows? You know, there were Americans there, there were Russians there, and I don't know who else was in that theater last night. But everybody was moved, because there's something about our shared humanity that is bigger than the events of history, which, you know, I can't speak to that, but things happen, you know.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, Larry.
Hello.
I am Andrew from Moscow.
Ah.
What is the best way for you to lift your mood?
The best way for me to my mood?
What is the best way, or the best maybe exercise to lift your mood?
Lift my mood. Okay. Thank you. Well, you know, one of the things I used to, when I lived in New York and I was on the stage a lot, one of the things I loved to do was walk the streets. I would love to walk amongst the New Yorkers and find a sort of like rhythm to my walk. It's almost like when you run. If you run, it hurts, and then all of a sudden you're breathing right and your legs are moving right. And then there's almost like you're in some sort of, you know, you're in rhythm with life. So it's the same thing. If you find whatever it is that makes you feel like you're in the rhythm with life, for me it was walking the streets and being out with the people and trying not to bump into them as I walked as fast as I could. So I would walk like this, and then I would walk like that. And I enjoyed just being with the people, and that would lift my spirits. And if that wasn't possible because it was pouring rain or I was too lazy, I would put on music. And I would find myself just being moved by certain artists, certain musical artists, and that gave me the feeling of being able to take on the day, or take on, you know, the audition, which is what I probably don't know this, but one of the great things I love about baseball, which is a great American sport, is that you play it every day. And so even if you lose today, you have to go home and come back the next day and say, we're going to win today. You know, and every day you have to have that experience. I'm going to get the hit today. I'm going to make it work today. And so that's very important if you're going to put yourself out. Listen, when I worked in the restaurant, I could walk in, you know, a little bit of a hangover, and I could still get the job done, and everybody thought I was doing fine. You know, I kind of limp my way through the day. But when you're going out there and it's on you, even if you're the maitre d' or whatever it is, and it's your face and it's your energy, you do have to lift yourself. So you got to find a way to do it. That's how I did it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, no, you want to sit on his? You want
Well, I'm
to-
sitting over
Yeah,
here.
no,
I can sit anywhere.
Thank you. Oh,
I
that's
like
great.
sitting.
Yeah, no, I want to sit now. Now I feel good. Hi. Hi.
My question, what do you like and what don't you like about directors and directing? And what's your favorite part about it? Do you have any problems with directors on sets?
I had one problem with the director on set, and it wasn't because of anything personal. It's that I was in a movie, and it was called, I forget the name of it, but Sam Elliott was in it.
Shakedown.
No, was it? It was Shakedown, yes, thank you. And James Glickenhaus was doing the movie, and James is a really nice guy, and I like James. But he was one of those guys that he was more concerned about the technical aspects of it. In other words, are the gunshots going to hit at that level? Because that's where that's where the camera is. Is that car going to blow up on cue? The acting was like, yeah, just, however you guys do it, you can do that. All right, so he was more concerned about the technical aspects of it, and that was okay, but I didn't like that. I wanted to sort of have more to talk with him about the part, and he was more interested in the pyrotechnics of the movie, which were many. I mean, there was cars blowing up, things falling off roofs, all kinds of things. So I understood. I wasn't angry about it, but I wanted him to pay more attention to me.
You like personal approach, right?
Excuse me?
You like
A more personal approach, yes. Well, I mean, yeah, I want, acting is I was talking about being sort of director-proof or actor-proof, but really, it's an inclusive art. You cannot do it alone. It's not like I can practice my violin all by myself. You can't practice acting, really. You can work on monologues, but it's collaborative. You need a lot of people to put on a play. You need a lot of people to do a movie. You can't just do it where, you and I could get together, and if we played instruments, we could put something together, just you and me, It's hard to do that in theater. So it is a collaborative art, and when you don't feel like you're getting the collaboration, it's a little frustrating, but sometimes that's what happens.
Larry, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Tom.
What is the worst movie you've ever been in?
It was a great cast, a wonderful director. It was fun. We shot it in around Washington, D.C. and Richmond, Virginia, which I love Richmond, Virginia. It was called True Colors. It was 1991. I was still young then. And I had scenes with John Cusack and James Spader, and I thought I was god-awful. And I'm glad that they may have cut a lot of what I did in that movie. They were two lawyers, Cusack and Spader, and I was sort of like one of the lawyers in the law firm. But I remember seeing it and going, oh God, it's not what I want. But that would be the worst, what I consider to be the worst thing I ever did. And there's probably more if I was to think about it.
Well, I wasn't asking when you were bad.
Oh.
Because I'm sure you were good, but maybe the movie was bad.
No, I don't think the movie was bad.
Okay.
I don't think the movie was bad. I mean, I'll tell you, I've been in some plays where I came to realize when people come backstage or when you're in a play and they go, wow, you were fantastic. Matter of fact, you were the best thing in the play. Usually when they say that to you,
what they're saying is, hated the play. I really didn't like the play, but you were great. You were fabulous. I'm like, they didn't like that. You start to realize that's the code for hated the play. Then they didn't want to come backstage and say that, so they tell you how great you were, you know, and you believe it, and then you go, wait a minute. So, yeah. So there was somebody, oh, yes, please.
Hello, my name is Najan, and basically I have two questions.
Okay.
First question is based on the fresh Oscars. So, which you prefer? Which is your choice, La La Land or Moonlight?
Moonlight.
Okay, me too. I have a friend. He watched La La Land first. He enjoyed it very much.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, he saw Moonlight, and he said, "No, the Oscar should go to Moonlight."
Yes.
But I told him that La La Land is too promoted, so probably it will win. And we were very happy and surprised.
Oh, good. Yes. Sometimes they often get it right. It's amazing. They often do get it right, and so I'm glad it won.
And I have a second question.
Okay.
Sorry. I wanted to ask you: is there a role you didn't play yet, but you would like to play?
Wow. Well, I can't think of anything in the theater that I'd like to play because my mind is blank on that. But I'd like to do a movie with Tom Hardy. That's the role I'd like to play. The role that I would get with Tom Hardy. That would be the role I'd like to play. Thank you. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. No. But that's how everything starts. They don't know about it. Yes, sir.
Thank you. One small question. Many actors and actresses write books, how I got to the stage, how I was in front of the camera and so on. Do you have any plans to write a volume of your memoirs? Or any notes maybe you've got already? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and I'm very flattered that you would ask. But no, I have no expectations to ever write anything about my life.
Like dining out with Clint Eastwood?
No,
or
no.
Any meeting some great actresses, Hollywood celebrities?
Now that you mention it, I'll think about it, actually.
You should, really, yeah.
Yes. It might be something, I do an audio book, because writing is a talent unto itself, as you can well imagine. So I'd have to find someone who would be willing to listen to me and then just feverishly write as I spoke. But yes, I'll think about that.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
Do please. That's a very good thing to write about.
Okay. Thank you. That's a great suggestion. I appreciate it. Excuse me?
Can you play for us?
I don't play piano. But if I did, I would. I certainly would. I don't play. I bang on it. I don't play.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, my question is about your career. How did you start, and what you do to get the volleyball?
Well, it started that night in the Swan Hotel when my band was playing in the bar, and these group of actors came in, and I became friendly with them. And one of the actresses became my girlfriend, and she told me that I should be an actor. And of course, when the band broke up, a few years later, or a few months later, I can't remember, but I figured, okay, and I didn't do anything about it for a while. And then I auditioned for a summer theater in Princeton, New Jersey, where they were going to do, they call it the straw hat circuit because people wear straw hats at summertime. So they were going to do all these summer plays, mostly Shakespeare. And as you can tell by my voice, I'm not a Shakespearean actor. But they hired me And so that was, I started working at the New Jersey Shakespeare Festival. And then the following summer, I auditioned again for another summer theater, and I got another position with a summer theater company, also in New Jersey. And being from New York, it's like right over the river. And I worked there, and once I got a sense of that, I started to realize that I could do this, that, you know, people are reacting to me in a positive way, and I can do this. And it was like, I can't believe it, but I can do this. And it was completely unexpected. Like I said, I did not set out to be an actor. It was just something that came about. It came about, and then I just, like anything else you would try to do, I just set my mind to it. And anything that I needed to do, I did. And anything that went against what I needed to do, I pushed it out of my life. And that included people who were negative toward me, and anything that did not support my goal, I considered, and that was even my own thoughts. I had to watch my own thoughts, because some thoughts we have are traitorous. They whisper to you, "You're never going to do this. You know, forget it." Those thoughts are traitorous thoughts. You must learn how to quiet that voice. So I did it, and I also realized that it was the first thing, other than playing music, that I realized I could do sort of somewhat naturally. And I thought, then I gotta give it a shot. And like one of my friends said, go for it, because you can always get a job. I mean, you can always work. You know, and acting is work, but it's not 9 to 5 work. I mean, there's always something, you gotta be preparing yourself constantly, and yet always, people say to me, "Oh, so you're an actor, so what do you do most of the time?" I look for work. I mean, that's what you spend a lot of your time doing, looking for work. You're unemployed a lot. So if you work, let's say there are 52 weeks in a year, if you work 30 weeks as an actor, you've worked a lot. You've worked a lot, and you've made good money. But you may not work again. You don't know. You know, unless you're a star, and even them, they'll say, well, you know, but if you're just a working actor like myself, you work 30 weeks, it's like, wow. Then you have 22 weeks where you're not working, and if you don't take care of yourself, if you end up in the bar every night, or you spend all your money, then you're in trouble now. Now you're in trouble again. So you're in total command of your career, and that means when you're on the set, but also you have to know how to live when you're off the set. You have to know how to live when you're unemployed, because I saw a lot of actors who got their first paycheck and then they spent it like a sailor, and then they're strung out, and they're not ready for the next at bat, the next chance, you know. So it's and like I said, it's luck. Yes.
I have a second question.
Okay.
Thanks for the previous. Well, you talked a lot about actors you liked a lot, but I have a positive question. What actors you worked with was the worst, and why was it?
Well, I don't want to mention any names, but and I don't want to speak. Also, I don't want to speak bad of the dead. So the thing that I didn't like about actors living and past, there's only like 2, and there's names I won't mention. However, they both had one thing in common. They were not inclusive. They were exclusive. They did not want to, maybe it was just me. And like I said, I could have met them on the 1 or 2 weeks of their life where they were, having a crisis and they couldn't. But they didn't extend themselves. They didn't want to rehearse before the camera. They didn't want to make eye contact. They just wanted to act with the camera rather than act with me. Because again, like I said, when you're on stage, you have to work with the other actor and you're in front of everybody. But when you're doing a 30-second clip and they're just going to do 30 seconds and you're just in that keyhole, you know. I don't have to look at you. I don't even have to work with you. I can, if that's the camera and you're over here, I can talk to the camera like this and not even look at you. And if you're talking to me, not even looking back. I could be doing a scene with you right now. Camera's right here. And you know, rather than looking at you, I can look like this. You know, I'll say my lines. Camera gets it. So that, I've experienced that at least twice. And it's, I mean, you know, it's okay, but it's not inclusive. And like I said, it's great when you collaborate. Because, you know, on stage, a lot of times you have it planned out what you're going to do. Maybe a little different, but it's planned out what you're going to do. What's great about film or TV, and well, it's not much TV, but film is, it can be very spontaneous. It can be something that you never thought you were going to do because somebody does something and you react to it spontaneously and pow, it's right on the camera now. Great. But if you're not going to work with me, then you're posing for the camera, and I get that. But I don't enjoy that as much.
Could you call some famous names?
Excuse me?
Could you call some famous names?
Who do I call famous names? I mean, who did I work with that's famous? Yeah. Oh, well, I've worked with Al Pacino. I've worked with the great Peter O'Toole, who's now passed. Clint Eastwood. Jeez. Well,
He is the worst actors, famous.
The worst actor? I will never do that. No, we're all in the same union, so I will not speak bad of fellow union members. But I'm sure you've seen them. I'm sure you could tell me who's the worst actor. You know, I'm sure you know. Yeah? Yeah? Who's the worst actor you've seen? Tom Cruise, there you go.
Wow.
Someone said Tom Cruise. Huh?
Gentleman in the red shirt.
Oh, gentleman in the red shirt.
Excuse
me. Hello.
Hello.
Could you tell us a little bit about your agents? Microphone. Could you tell us a little bit about your agents, what kind of people they are?
Well, I've had 3 or 4 agents I started acting in '75, so I don't know how many years that is already, but I've had 3 or 4 agents, maybe 5. My first agent just passed away, and he was great. He helped me navigate a lot of things, and he had to break our relationship up and let me go, as it were, because he moved to a bigger agency, and that bigger agency didn't want me. So he had to do what he had to do. That's happened to me twice. My favorite agent, who died young, a guy named Stephen Veal, who I love the guy. When I went to sign with him, I'd been around long enough, you know, and I sat down, and most agents will say, I love you, you know, I love actors, I'm so happy to represent you, you know, and they're just, you know, and, you know, who doesn't like that, right? Well, you know, I'm a little jaded by now, and so I sit down, I said, you know, you know, everybody asks, you know, why did you become an actor? Everybody wants to, why did you become? I said, why did you become an agent? You know, why did you become an agent? And he said, because I like to make deals. I said, you're my guy. You're my guy. And I was with Stephen for 2 years, and he passed away in 2000. He was just a really good guy. Didn't take care of himself. Didn't listen to his doctor. He just wanted to go out the way he wanted to go out. But agents are important. But once I broke up with Gene Parsadian, my first agent, who I had for like 5-6 years and really walked me through the early days of my career. Once I realized, I forget who it was an American poet who said, if you build a house of quality in the middle of the woods, people will beat a path to your door. And so I always felt like if I was as good as I could be, it didn't matter who the agent was because people would still want me. It wasn't the agent that was going to make people want me. It was me that was going to make people want me. Now, there's some truth to that. The other thing is certain agents have connections, and they can, they can get you, as they say, get you in the door or get you in the room because they know people. So ultimately, like so many things, it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Yes.
Hello.
Oh.
May I?
Yes, you may.
My name is Tatiana. I'm from Moscow.
Hey.
I just want to ask you if you tried to write songs or music yourself.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I was funny. I had a writing partner, and we were in a band, and we were in a band, and we wrote. Every day we'd get together and we would write songs. We would write songs. And I thought some of them were really quite good. And then, as it so happens, there are creative differences and the band breaks up. And he went and met some other guys who I also knew. And they wrote a song together, the two of them. And it might be a song you know from Dirty Dancing, Time of My Life. You may know this song from the movie Dirty Dancing. Well, he wrote that song. We wrote hundreds of songs together, and not one. He wrote one song with this other guy, John D. Nicola, and they hit the gold. What do they call it? The gold pot. They hit it, and they won an Oscar, and they got it. They had a #1 song. So. That was like my first dream, just what they call in the U.S. one-hit wonder. I just wanted to write one-hit song, and if I could write one-hit song, I thought, I could ride. It didn't work out. So, but I did try.
You sang a lot in your films.
I sang a lot growing up. I wanted to be a singer. I loved Elvis Presley growing up. And Tony Bennett and Frank Sinatra, and I thought I would be a singer, and then I wanted to be, then the Beatles came and that whole thing, and then I wanted to write because they were writing, and it is what it is. It didn't work, but I tried.
Tell her about Cop Rock.
Cop Rock was a show on ABC TV where it didn't fly. But we got to act and sing on an American TV show, and that was a great experience. Really was. Stephen Bochco is a great producer.
When you see famous people on screen or somewhere else, do you feel when they are sincere or when they are lying? When they are playing, acting? Politicians, for example.
In auditions?
No.
Oh.
When they speak to people, do you feel when they're sincere or when they're acting?
Oh, I mean when they're out on the street just meeting people, you mean? Or on camera?
On camera, whatever.
Okay. I think there is, on camera, some actors are, again, some actors, you believe them no matter what they do because they're just so, as actors will say, be in the moment. And the Buddhists say that too, but in actors they always say be in the moment. So, be here with me, which is why I like the contact, be here with me, and we'll talk to each other. So a lot of actors are good at that because that's how we train. When you're in the public, I don't have that problem. because no one here really knows who I am, and I don't have anything to protect. You know, I'm not Tom Cruise, who has an image, so to speak, to protect. So it's different. He's a business. He's a corporation. He is I don't even know what else to call it. He's a whole thing. But me, I'm just me. So I think that when you are somebody and you're high up there and you're a franchise kind of actor, you probably do have to talk a little, as they say, razzle dazzle, just sort of like make everybody think ooh, 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 and then go, oh God, I can't believe I had to do that. So I think there is that, but I think politicians do that. I think titans of business do that. They come out and talk to their employees and they say, we're going to do great this month. We're selling things, we're making things,
Do you feel the edge?
Excuse me?
Do you feel the edge?
Do I feel the edge?
Yeah, where they're sincere and not.
Well, we all, yes, I do feel an edge sometimes. But, I think we all do. We all, at any given part of the day, kind of say what we think somebody might want to hear because it's the polite thing to do, or we just want to move on. I was always told if you're polite and nice, it's sort of like the grease that keeps things going. Speak your mind and you may end up with an argument. So I think people will say things just to keep things moving. We'll be nice and we don't have to really get into anything. But if you just say, you want to know, I never liked fill in the blank, and the person would say, well, I think you're wrong. I think you're so wrong. Well, now you have contention, you have conflict, and anything could happen. It could be just you can laugh it off. But if you just say, yeah, that's nice, oh, you liked it, I liked it too. Whoop, just move it. It just moved right on into nowhere. And a lot of people will do that because conflict isn't, in a scene, conflict is great because that's drama, but in real life, a lot of times it's just better to say, you want to know, I like that too, and we'll just go on. And is that lying? I don't know. But it's being polite. And sometimes being polite, I guess, can take you, saying things that you really don't mean. I don't know. Yes, Thomas?
To be polite, we kind of need to be wrapping.
Okay.
So maybe a couple more questions.
Yes.
Then we head out.
Okay.
The gentleman over there.
Okay.
And
Yes,
then
sir.
also the gentleman in the beard is also. So
Okay.
maybe 3.
You pick them.
No.
Hi.
Yes, sir.
Mikhail Rebelka from Irkutsk, Lake Baikal. Just wanted to ask you, are there any new changes, new requirements in acting? You compare the time, the period of the 1970s and 80s, and the current period. Are there any new trends? Anything new? For example, you were in the play, in the theater, and is it a new trend as well?
Well, thank you, that's a very good question. One of the things that I've noticed, when I first started out, they were, the TV dramas or movies were sort of, they went for, unlike, back in the old days in the 40s when it was, life was so difficult that, Hollywood made things look like, wow, Cary Grant, it was, everything was just swell, After the war, everybody wanted realism, people don't really act like that, so. And then, of course, Brando and Dean and Monty Clift and a lot of these guys were bringing realism, quote unquote. Well, we've got super realism now because we have reality TV where, you can just be a guy or just a girl. And if you, again, if society is looking for something and you just happen to find it, you can step in and there you are. So I think being an actor now is probably a lot more difficult. Then, even though there are more channels and there are more outlets, I don't know that people are looking for acting the way I was taught it. I think it's funny, whether you're in America or there seems to be a global society of sorts, and I'm not saying that's good or bad, but it just seems like it. And so, you can step in at any point and be that person, that thing that everybody is crazy about. So I think it's harder in some ways now. I think it's harder to be an actor because there is, you get the same people doing it all the time. I mean, Tom Cruise has a franchise, and a lot of people, it seems like the same 12 or 20 people are doing all the work. So I think it's harder coming up than it was for me. And I thought it was hard, but I think it might even be harder now. Did I answer your question?
Correct. Yeah, and basically I also had a question about the theater.
Right.
Here in Moscow, many people are, like many famous Russian stars and celebrities, they're actually involved in theater performances, and it's certain, like, basically a requirement. Is it basically in Hollywood we don't really see that?
No.
And it's extremely rare to see actor in theater and movies.
Yes, Al Pacino is one of the few that do it. But film acting and theater acting are two different disciplines. And like I said, I mean, you're right here, and you don't have to really act with the other actor because you're acting with the camera. And so it's a very different art. I mean, I've been with I've been with stars who say, I'm not an actor, I'm a star. I'm not an actor. Yeah, oh yes. I won't say, but I mean,
I came very close.
Yeah. But I mean, and I agree with them. I mean, you're right. You're not an actor. You've never been on stage. You never want to be on stage. But in front of the camera, wow. It's like, you got it, buddy. So, yes, I think the tradition in Europe, because of the guild thing and how, in America, if I wanted to open up a mechanic shop, I could probably do it if I had the right amount of money. I could probably do it, open and say, I'm a mechanic. And I would, do the best I could. For instance, in Germany, you can't do that because you have to go through the guild. You can't just open up a shop. You have to. So I think the same way in the theater in Europe, you're a thespian. You have to learn the craft, and I think it's different, and I think that's a great thing, actually. Yes.
My name is Ksenia. Currently I'm living here in Moscow. So I'm so sorry, my question is not about your professional career, but more about your emotions. So as far as I got it, you happen to live in many different cities in America. So which one did you like the most, or still which one do you love the most, or what city affected you the most, or which one do you recall really often? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm from New York, and growing up in New York was, I can't think of a better place to have grown up, because the city, as you're young, the city never closes. So it's always open, and it's always happening, and it's great. It's great to be young there. I wouldn't want to be old there. But being young there is fantastic. I love New Orleans. New Orleans is another great city. Chicago is a great city. Philadelphia is great. Vegas used to be great. I don't like Vegas as much as I used to. And is a great city. I've enjoyed time there. And I love where I live now in Southern California. Number one, well, how could I not say New York? New York is number one. Yes. Thank you.
Let's say that someone wants to go to Hollywood, either LA or New York, or someone wants to work in movie industry, right? Even pulling cables works, right? What would you recommend to start with? Do you have any advice for that kind of person?
If you know nobody there, and you just want to show up, I would have probably at least 3 months worth of money, where you will be able to find, have money to eat and a place to sleep, so you can pay for food and that. If you go into New York, you don't need a car. You got all the public transport, and you can walk everywhere if you wanted to. And you don't need to get a car. If you go into Los Angeles, if you go into Hollywood, you need a car because everything is spread out. It's not like New York where you can just, walk and you're there, So at least 3 months worth of money. And I would have a very good understanding of what your skills are. You really got to know. So if you, let's say you wanted to pull cable and do electrical work and work on crew, you better know what it is that you're talking about. And have a resume. And if you got to dummy it up, dummy it up. You say, oh yeah, I worked on a Russian film, and I worked in Paris. It was a small budget film, But you better know your stuff.
What does dummy it up mean, Larry?
Fake it. Fake it. Just fake it. As they say, fake it until you make it. So, just, write up a little resume so that, you can go in. And then, again, whether it's New York or California, you got to go to the places where people are. Now, all these stuff is union. So, it's not going to be easy because, they're going to say, are you union? And you're going to say no. And they're going to say, well, I can't even offer you a job unless you're union. Well, how do I get to be a union? You got to get a job. And it's like, wait a minute, But that's the game they play. And you got to find, that one person that's going to say, yes, I will give you a job, and on your first day, I'll give you a card, and you're in the union, so it's all good. But you got to find that one person. So, whether you're a crew guy, you want to work crew, or you want to be an actor. So let's say you want to be an actor and you show up, you would be the same thing. You would buy the paper, there's a trade paper, you buy the paper, and there will be, there's auditions, especially if you're young, which you are, there'll be plenty of auditions for young guys. Plenty of auditions, plenty. Again, dummy up your resume if you have to. Yeah, I worked in Moscow, I did this, no one's going to check. But you better know what you're doing. In other words, you better have read something on acting or actually did a high school play or something. So so you show up and you got it. You gotta show up and be exactly what you think you're gonna be. In other words, if you think you're gonna be, the next whatever, you better show up and be, even if you're not. You better act like you are. Because when you walk in, believe it or not, they want you to be great because they need somebody great. They need somebody with confidence. They want you to be the answer to their question. How are we going to cast this role? We need somebody to fill this role. We got to get some. 100 guys walk in. They want you to be the one. They're not going, okay, no. When you first walk in, they're almost saying, yeah, he might be right. All right, come on up here, Johnny. Let me see what you got. Could be good. What do you think? Okay, well, thank you. But you got to believe before they believe. That's what I guess what I'm saying. You got to believe it almost more than anybody else in the world. Because otherwise you're not going to sell it. So if you're going to make the trip from here to California or New York, you better believe. You better not, like I said before, you better not have any traitorous thoughts. And even if you do, don't think them. Just say, you want to know? I'm going to come back with a handful of exactly what I want. And go get it. And like I said, you can always come back and get a job. You can always work for a living, and there's nothing wrong with that. My son's an electrician. There's no shame in it. No shame. But if you're going to go for a dream, believe in it 110%. Because there are going to be people saying, are you kidding me? You ain't nothing, kid. You can't, you know, be like, yeah, I know that's what you think, but I'm telling you, I got it. And you got to believe it. So that's all I can tell you. All right, thank you all. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't know if you needed the microphone.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.